Good morning, students.
Good morning, ma'am.
Okay, in the last class, we solved some problems related to computing the first and follow sets, and also we solved one problem based on recursive descent parser. Recursive descent parser is one of the technique used in top-down parsing. And in the recursive descent parser, what we do is for every non-terminal, we write a recursive procedure, and based on the RHS order of symbols, we will be calling those functions recursively. And also we used some functions like extracting the word and how to scan from left to right also we saw. And also we understood the importance of first and follow sets in the implementation of recursive descent parser. If it was not there, then maybe your parser would have been not very effective, and therefore you would have got some backtracking, and maybe it would have not been efficient. Okay, so we have seen that that is one kind of parser where you yourself can write the code for every non-terminals. You can write a recursive procedure. Okay, uh, that is one thing. But this may not be sufficient whenever you want to take big grammar, and then you want to parse for more strings and so on. So that's why we have another type of parser, which is known as LL of one parser. This is one of the subclass of grammars used in top-down parsing, and we use the left to right parsing, means we always scan from left to right, and we use the leftmost derivation, and the number of lookout symbols are 1. Okay, um, so actually the first L is for left to right scanning, and the second L is for leftmost derivation. This is the number of lookout symbols. Okay, coming to the steps, we will have to follow these steps for all the problems that are solved using LL of one parsing. The first step is augment the given grammar. Then you have to see whether left recursion removal is required or not for that particular grammar. Then apply left factoring. You know the reasons why we have to do all this. And then after performing the left factoring, if required only you'll do. If it is not required, you'll skip that. And then you have to find the first and follow sets. After finding this sets, we will be constructing the parsing table. Okay, and then finally you can verify this by tracing some particular using the stack. Okay, so these are the steps. So let us take the first example. Is there some issue with respect to my audio, students?
Someone got unmuted, ma'am. Your voice was coming from their loudspeaker, I guess.
Yeah, please mute. No, that's what I could hear. Please mute now. All the students, please mute. Okay. Yes. So now let us straight away start with our problem, because this is a well-known problem. We'll start with this. Now what we have to do is we have to construct the LL of one parsing table for this particular grammar, and also we are going to verify this particular string, say ID plus ID star ID, using the stack. Okay, so this is our grammar. As you see, this is not yet augmented. So first step, what we are going to do is we are going to augment the grammar by introducing this first rule: G gives E dollar, because for the given grammar E is the start symbol, so we have done that. And also I have labeled all the rules and I have separated each rule That is because it will help us later which rule to apply. We can just use the number. That's the only advantage. Otherwise, there is no other advantage. So I have labeled all the rules. And then that is the first step. The second step is the left recursion removal. This particular grammar is already well defined. We have already removed the left recursion. So right now it is not required because already it is a ready-made grammar. And similarly, we don't have anything common in the prefix. If you see, we don't have anything common in the prefix. So even left factoring is not required. But for some examples, it may be required. You will have to follow that step. So for this example, it is well-defined grammar, so we don't need these two. Means already it is done. So now let us see the next step, step number 4. So we will have to compute the first and follow sets. This also I have told, but anyway, I will repeat it. From this, we know that E bar and T bar are both nullable. And coming to finding the first set, you know the dependency, first of G is depending on E and so on. So definitely you'll have to find the first of F and then you have to fill it back. Okay. So first we will find the first of F, which is nothing but open parenthesis ID and num. Then we will fill it for T. Then we will fill it for E. Then we will fill it for G. Okay. So this example already I have taken, but anyway, you have to recall it. For these symbols we have done. Now let us find the first of E bar. E bar is what? Epsilon plus and minus. Similarly, the first of T bar is epsilon star and slash. So that is done. Now coming to the follow set, anyway you can verify it. This grammar it is well known, so I'm going fast. So let us see the follow set now. Follow of G is dollar because that is the first symbol now. That is the start symbol. We have augmented. Therefore, now it becomes the start symbol in the new grammar. Therefore, for G, we are going to place dollar in the follow set. And then coming to the follow of E. Follow of E, if you see here, dollar is there. So that dollar. And also here close parenthesis is there. So it is close parenthesis. Then follow of E dash is should contain follow of E because here it is epsilon. So we are going to copy that. Then follow of T is first of E bar. First of E bar is plus minus and we need to handle epsilon, isn't it? So here we are going to place epsilon here and see what is going to happen. Follow of T should contain follow of E. That's why dollar and close parentheses have been copied. And if you look at this grammar, you can see in all positions what happens. There are no other changes to be done into the set. So that's it for follow of T. Then follow of T dash. Follow of T dash is here. Follow of T dash should contain follow of T directly. So we can copy everything. And that's all, nothing much. Here it is not making any sense. So it's the same set. So we will continue. Then for follow of F, follow of F is nothing but first of T dash. So first of T dash contains what? Star and slash. So star and slash has been placed. And then also it has epsilon. Because of epsilon, you're going to place epsilon over here. So follow of F now should contain follow of T also. So because this becomes epsilon, follow of F should contain follow of T also. So everything, whatever was there in T, we have just copied. That is plus, minus, dollar and close parenthesis. So till here, you know what has to be done. The same thing we followed for recursive descent parser also. Like the first 4 steps are same there also. Coming to the 5th step, this is the table created. So how it has to be created? For all the non-terminals, you just have rows, okay, in the table. And for all the terminal symbols, you just have it in the columns, including the dollar symbol. Okay, list out all the terminal symbols like this: plus, minus, star, slash, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, ID, num, and dollar. Similarly, all the non-terminals you can list out in each row. So this is the structure of the table. And coming to what are the entries to be done in the table, what we have to do is for each row, start from here, from the first row. You have to see the first set. Okay, you have to see the first set. Why did we compute the first set? Because we wanted to know which rule we want to apply at a particular step, isn't it? So if I know the first symbol, then I know which rule I have to apply. So now that's what we are trying to use in the table also. Now, for making entries into this particular row, first row, which is having G as a non-terminal, I have to see all the terminal symbols that are present in first of G. This is one thing. And the other thing is what? For G, what is the RHS present? That is E followed by dollar. This is my rule. That is rule number 0. So what I am going to do now, if the first symbol is say open parenthesis, we are going to use rule number 0. Similarly, if the first symbol is say ID, we are going to apply rule number 0. Similarly, if the symbol is a num, we are going to apply rule number 0. Why we are doing that? Because we need to take a decision what rule to be applied next. Okay, so that's what we are trying to do now. See, we fill for open parenthesis rule number 0. We fill for ID also rule number 0, and we fill rule number 0 for num also. If you don't want to use these numbers, very well you can place this rule itself here. It is as good as writing G gives E dollar. Because it will look clumsy, I have named with the numbers and then I am using it. Okay. So for these only we are going to fill rule number 0. Then what happens to other symbols? Other symbols are treated as errors. Whatever blank symbols, once you complete the table, whatever is left blank, that will be treated as error. Okay, means we are not expecting anything like this plus in the first position, minus in the first position for G. Never you will get that particular chance if it is a correct string. If it is a wrong string, then maybe you will encounter while parsing. But wrong string means it is not accepted in the language also, isn't it? So it has to be error. If it is accepted, if it is there in the grammar, then it will be in the language also, and the parsing also will be successful. Otherwise, it will go to error. So all these blank entries will be errors now. So coming to the next row, similarly, we have to follow the same procedure. But for E, what is the rule? We have only one possibility, that is rule number 1. Okay. And what are the first symbols for E? We have again open parenthesis ID and num. So whenever we encounter this, we have to apply what? Rule number 1. So we are going to fill the table like this. Means for open parenthesis ID and num, we are going to apply what? The rule number 1. Okay. Means if you imagine a stack, when the top of the stack contains say E and my next symbol to be read is say open parenthesis, then the decision taken is what? I am going to apply rule number 1. That's what it means. Similarly, my next symbol, whatever I am pointing to, if the symbol is say ID, then I can use rule number 1. Suppose if I am pointing to star and my top of the stack is say E, then it is an error. That's what it means. So we have filled for the row E also. Rest all will be treated as error. Coming to the next row is E dash. For E dash, you see there are 3 possibilities. The first symbol is plus, and the second for the rule number 3 it is minus. For rule number 4 it is epsilon. As I always say, whenever epsilon is there, it is very challenging. Okay. Whereas other 2 rules can be easily handled. We'll see what has to be done. So for the E dash, the first symbols also we have listed like that only because they are terminal symbols. So plus, minus and epsilon. Let us try to handle plus first. So at E dash means if my top of the stack contains E dash and my next symbol to be read is say plus. So what is that we are going to do? We are going to apply rule number 2. Number 2 we are going to apply. Suppose I am having top E dash and then my symbol pointed is say minus, then we are going to apply rule number 3. So if it is plus, we apply rule number 2. If it is minus, we apply rule number 3. Okay, this is fine because we are having directly the terminal symbols. Now, suppose I have epsilon. Okay, means epsilon I told you, it has to be handled in a different way. Whenever epsilon occurs in the first set, what you have to do is, all other symbols you handle it, but only for epsilon what you have to do is, you have to see the follow set of that particular non-terminal. Means I am dealing with what? E dash. So now I have to look into what? Follow of E dash. So follow of E dash is what? Dollar and close parenthesis. So what happens to my this column then, this cell? It will be what? Rule number 4 we are going to apply for. Rule number 4 is what? You see that it is epsilon. So it means that E dash gives epsilon is the rule. So whenever close parenthesis occurs as my symbol in the input, I should apply rule number 4. Similarly, for dollar also, we should apply the same rule. Whereas all other blank entries will be treated as error. Means I am expecting only the plus, minus, and if I am expecting epsilon, if I want to apply that rule, for which symbols I am going to apply? Only when I encounter these symbols, dollar and close parenthesis. For other symbols, we are not going to apply. Okay, so that is E dash. So this alone is a little challenging, handling the epsilon. You should always remember, whenever epsilon comes in the first set, you should be using the follow set. The same thing we followed for the recursive descent passer also. So coming to the next row, in the next row, what do we have? We have T, and we have all these terminal symbols, and we don't have any epsilon here. So and the possibility also, there is only one possibility, that is one RHS. T gives FT dash, that is rule number 5. So for open parenthesis ID and num, for all the three symbols, we are going to apply the rule number 5. Okay, open parenthesis ID and num. So that is done now. Then coming to T dash. T dash is also similar to E dash. Only thing is that we have star and slash. So first we have to handle star and slash. That is star and slash. And then we have epsilon. To handle epsilon, again we have to depend on the follow set. So first I will finish for star. Whenever star occurs, what we have to do is, we have to apply rule number 6. Whenever slash occurs, we have to apply rule number 7. Okay. Now to handle epsilon, you are going to see the follow set, which contains plus, minus, dollar and close parenthesis. So for all these, we are going to apply what? Rule number 8. Okay. So for plus, minus, dollar and close parenthesis, we are going to apply rule number 8, which is nothing but T dash gives epsilon. Okay. So that is done now. So coming to the last row, that is F. For F also, it is very simple. We don't have any epsilon here, and all the first symbols are also what? Open parenthesis ID and num. So correspondingly, we have to select the rules. If at all my input symbol is say open parenthesis, then we will be applying rule number 9. If the input symbol is say ID, then we will apply rule number 10. And if the input symbol is say num, we will be applying rule number 11. So we can complete the table. So rule number 9, 10 and 11 respectively. Okay, so now we are ready with our table, which is a LL of 1 parsing table. Now the advantage is what? Already I have predicted something. Okay, this happens means I should apply this. So it is ready. This table we are going to use it now for parsing. Now you don't have confusion which one to apply. You don't have to think much. Your table is ready. Just you select. Suppose I have G on the top and my symbol is say ID, then rule number 0 only is possible. Nothing else, isn't it? So we are going to apply the rule number 0. So that's what we are going to do. So once the table is constructed, you don't have to worry much. You are going to use this table directly, and all the blank entries are errors. So let us pass this and see using the stack. Okay. So for parsing, we will be using like this. Let us have 3 columns where it will track the contents of the stack. It will track the contents of the stack, and then we will also have the input in our input file. Maybe you can take it as a buffer, and then we are going to also track the action part. So means what is the action we are going to take whenever we encounter something. Okay, as you all know, in the stack there are 2 operations, push and pop. So once you push, only you can access the top symbol, and based on the top symbol you will have to take some decision. And then only the top can be removed also, that is the pop. So this is what happens. Okay, now already your LL of 1 parsing table is ready, and therefore we'll be using that in the action now. Okay, so let us start now. So first step is what? I want to pass this particular string, that is id plus id into id, and I have included dollar symbol. Why? Because I should know when I'm going to stop. Like for every string what you are passing, you have to include the end of file so that I know I have reached this pointer to the dollar, and we can stop the parsing. So that's what it means. Therefore I have appended a dollar here for the input. So let us start tracing this. So what you are going to have in the beginning, in the stack you are going to take the start symbol, that is nothing but after the augmentation whatever you have got. If you have augmented, then that you are going to use. So G, and my input I am going to place like this, and from the beginning, that is always my scanning is from left to right. So I'll be pointing to the first ID here, ID1. I can call it as ID1, or if you have some A plus B into C, so you'll be pointing to A. So this is my input. Now I can't show both. I will go back and show the table and come back. Maybe if you want to see, you can write the table and see. The table was very big to put it here, so I didn't put it. Anyways, as I go on, you can also start interacting and you can answer. So I'll just go back and show. See, at when I am having G, okay, and my symbol pointed is say ID. What is that I'm going to do? I'm going to apply rule number 0. So that's what decision have to be taken now. So going back to our tracing. So G, now you can imagine in the stack we have only G, and my input I'm pointing to ID. So what is the action part then? This is my action. What is that action? Rule number 0. Rule number 0 is what? G gives E dollar, and you are going to push. Then how do you push? Okay, so pushing means don't push E and then dollar. It is not so. I will tell the reason. In the top-down parsing, I would have told many times that leftmost derivation is used, isn't it? So if I want to derive, if I want to continue the derivation, I started with G. I created a root node, say G, and then I created two other nodes, one corresponding to E and the other one corresponding to dollar. Now, how do I continue my leftmost derivation? Anyway, in this case, not much problem because the only non-terminal is E. But if at all I have more non-terminals, what I would have done? I would have taken the leftmost non-terminal for the replacement. So how do I get this leftmost non-terminal for the replacement? Only when I place it on the top of the stack. So that is why I'm telling, when you want to push this particular RHS, means whenever I say the action is push, means what you're going to do is you're going to replace your LHS non-terminal with what? Your RHS symbols. Okay, means I'm going to pop this G and I'm going to push E dollar in such a way that E is on the top. Capital E is on the top. So it looks like this. Okay, have you noticed that I have removed G and in place of G, dollar E is pushed. You don't have to break your head. You just put it in the reverse order. It comes. That's it. Okay. So dollar E is there in the stack now where E is on the top, and still my input I am pointing to ID only. Okay. Now what is the condition? My top symbol is capital E and I am still pointing to ID. Now you go back to your table and see at the row E corresponding to E, when I am reading ID, what is the decision to be taken? What is the decision to be taken? It is nothing but rule number 1. Anyway, I have the grammar here and I know. If you want, maybe you can see that. You can download the PPT. It is there already. If you want, you can download the PPT, see there, and you can answer. So now what is the action? I have to apply rule number 1, isn't it? So what is that rule number 1 then? I am going to push this. Means I have to replace this E with what? T followed by E dash. But in such a way that T is on the top. Why? Because again I want to perform the leftmost derivation only. That order we cannot change. Every step it is going to be the leftmost derivation only. Therefore, so what we are going to do? We are going to pop this E. Okay, only the top symbol we are going to pop and push what? T E dash such that T is on the top. And still I am pointing to ID only. Okay, so my next step is what? I have replaced this E successfully with T E dash T being on the top. Okay, still I am pointing to ID only. Okay, if you derive and see in the form of tree also, you'll get the similar thing. So now at T, that is at the row T, when I am pointing to ID, what is the decision? So this is the only rule we have got. There is no other option. So I will have to definitely apply what? Rule number 5. So rule number 5 is what? This is what we have. So what is that we are trying to do? We are going to pop this T, and in place of that we are going to push the RHS. Of course, we have to maintain the order. Okay, notice that whatever other symbols are there, they will be same. You don't change other symbols, only the top you are popping and then replacing with the RHS. So it looks like this now. So $E dash is copied as it is, but in place of T I have popped T and we have pushed what? T dash F in such a way that F is on the top. Okay, still note that I am pointing on ID only. I have not moved the pointer of the input. So now what is the next action? So you have to see at F on ID what is the decision taken. So at F, if you see the table LL of 1 parsing table, at F on ID, what is the decision? Definitely rule number 10 you would have applied, isn't it? So that is what we have predicted. So let us apply that now. So what is that we are going to do? We are going to pop this F and then we are going to push ID in that place. So that is the next step. So and now it is ID. Here also it is ID plus ID, the same thing. I didn't change anything in the input. So only thing is that F has been replaced by ID. And now note that it is a terminal symbol. So terminal symbol means in terms of tree, if I have to speak, you would have already reached the leaf node. Whereas other symbols are still there, which is non-terminals. Okay. So this ID, what is there on the top, that matched with the symbol that is pointed to. Okay. This ID and this ID matched. So whenever that matches, means whatever you were expecting that happened. So that is correct. So whenever it happens, what you have to do is you can say that match has found, and then you can pop the element from that only one element from the stack. Okay, whatever is there on the top, that you can pop. So parallelly what you are doing is you are checking whether it has matched, and if it has matched, you are going to pop the top element, and also you are going to move your input pointer towards right. So one symbol. Okay, so I have processed ID successfully and it is done. So I will have to point to plus now. So that's what is shown. ID is popped off, and now we have plus ID star ID dollar left out in the input. So now again you will have to see what at T dash on plus what has to be done. At T dash on plus, somebody can see and tell. Anyway, I have the tracing, I can show it. But if you want for verification, you can go back to the table and see. So at T dash on plus what has to be done? It has to be this decision. Okay, we would have applied rule number 8. So rule number 8 means it is nothing but you are going to remove this T1 and replace that with epsilon. Epsilon is nothing but an empty string. So therefore what happens in my tracing? I have removed, I have popped T dash and that has been replaced with epsilon. I don't have any other symbol to push and it's only epsilon, and still my input remains the same. Okay, now what we have to see is E dash, and we are pointing to plus. At E dash on plus, what is the decision taken? Definitely it would be rule number 2. Okay, so rule number 2 is this. So you're going to push this. I didn't mention everywhere. It is a push operation. So push means you have popped E dash and then you have pushed the RHS in such a way that plus comes on the top. So it's just the reverse. So E dash you push first and then T and then plus. So plus is on the top. Now the top contains plus and my input pointer also is pointing to plus. So both match. So you can pop now. So pop in the next step so that it looks like this. So E dash T and my input also pointer, I can proceed to the next symbol. So left out is only ID star ID dollar. Okay. So now at T on ID, what has to be done? It is this decision. Okay. Push it. So what happens? So now I have removed T and then pushed T dash F in such a way that F is on the top. Okay. My input is still this. So at F on ID, what is the decision? You are going to take this decision. I will go fast here because it is the same, similar. So ID and ID matches. So you're going to pop, and then it looks like this. After popping, so it has matched means I am going to move my pointer also. So star ID dollar. And now at T dash on star, definitely the decision would be rule number 6 to be taken. So push that. So when you push, this is what it is. Now again, the symbol on the top matches with the input pointed. So you are going to say it is matched and pop. So once you pop, it will be like this. At F on ID, it is rule number 10. So you're going to push that. Now again, both match. So we are going to pop. Then after popping it and we move our pointer towards right, now we are pointing on dollar. Don't think that it is done. Okay, why it is not done? Because still my stack contains some symbols. So I have to complete that. Even though my input pointer is pointing to the last symbol, but still my stack is not empty. Or a stack should have only dollar. Till then you have to continue. So what you have to do is you have to continue. So what is that? Again, you go back and see when you are having T dash and my input symbol is pointed to say it is the pointer is pointing to dollar, then what you have to do, this is the decision taken, means you are going to pop off the T dash. So next what happens after popping, this will be the condition. So now again at E dash on dollar, what is the decision to be taken? According to the table, it should be this. Therefore we are going to pop E dash also. Now what happens to the content of the stack? It is only having dollar. And what is my input buffer having? That is also dollar. Means now the top down parsing is completed for this particular string. I can say it is accepted. Why? Because I could reach this point, dollar and dollar I could reach, and everything is successful. That's why I could get this situation, and therefore it is accepted. Otherwise it would have stopped somewhere. Okay, so that example also I'll show where it stops. We have time, right? Okay. So one more example I'll take where it is not going to. So when the input dollar and stack also contains dollar, the parsing is complete and it is successful. Okay, so for the unsuccessful thing, I will show like this because most of the steps you know very well. This is my string. This is my string. ID plus star ID close parenthesis dollar. This is what string I have taken. You all know very well that this is not an accepted string because operator is followed by another operator. It was expecting one operand in between, but in our sentence it is not so. Let us anyway trace it. So first you are going to start with G only, and this being in the input buffer. So first decision is this, you are going to apply that, and E on the top. Now we are pointing on open parenthesis because open parenthesis is also considered as an input symbol. So here also G on open parenthesis, we have taken this decision. Then E on open parenthesis is this decision. Okay, and so on. Okay, and so on. You just keep doing it. So at F on open parenthesis, we would apply this rule. Okay, and then it comes over here. And also I have told you already, you have to put it in the reverse order. So close parenthesis E and open parenthesis, we have got this. Now once I reach this point, this open parenthesis, this matches with the input symbol pointed to. Okay, so open parenthesis matches, therefore we pop. So once we pop, this is left, and we process our input pointer also. So at E on ID, this is the decision taken from the table. So you apply that and replace that. So whenever you apply some rule, you should remember that you are going to pop that non-terminal and push the new symbols, okay, in the RHS. So that you are going to do. And at T on ID, it's fine. So till here, no problem. It goes very normally. So once you reach this point, okay, once you reach this point also, E dash on plus, this rule have to be applied. So you apply that. And plus matches with plus, then you can pop and then you can process your input pointer. So now the problem arises. Why? Because now on my top, what I have got? T. For T, and do you have any entry for star? T on the top and star being in the input symbol, we don't have any entries there. Means we don't have any rule defined. It means that it is an error. Okay, so that is a blank entry for that particular column, and for this row it is blank. Means it is an error. Means at this stage I can say it is an error. Why? Because this is not an accepted string, and we don't have any rule to be applied when this condition occurs, and therefore it is an error. So this is a syntax error, because you can't have two operators like this continuously. Okay, means in my grammar also I didn't define something like this which can be accepted. Therefore, it is parsing it as completed. Only thing is that this particular sentence is not accepted. Okay, parsing it as completed and it is displaying as error. So whatever message you give, it will take that. So like this we can parse using the stack. Yeah.
Ma'am, we can push ft dash, right?
Where?
In place of t.
In place of t. Do you have some rule when I'm on the when the top? Can you? Okay, I will go back to that. If I put the animation, no, this is the problem. Okay, so see at t on star, what is that I have here? Entry error only, right? I can't apply some other rule. You can't do like that. Okay, because I'm using this table. Okay, so why I constructed this table? To make my job easy only I constructed this table. I can predict what has to be applied. Now I am using that directly. Okay, so you don't try for any other choice. Once your table is ready and if you have constructed it properly, you'll be using this table only. Okay, using this table only you're going to parse in the stack. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I completely forgot about this table.
Okay, okay. So this table only we are using. Okay, I could not display because it is really big. So I could not do it. Anyway, if I copy paste this table and see, you have to look through the table only and then you have to decide. Okay, so that is only the best way. That is the advantage of using the table driven parsing technique. Okay, that's why we constructed this table, and this table only we are using for our parsing. That is done now, students, and let us have one definition. So this I have taken both the cases. One is successful and that particular string is there in the grammar and language, and also I took one example where it can be rejected. So two examples I have taken. You take any example and try yourself. Always the best way is you yourself try to trace. That is the best way. And also parallelly, if you want to check, you can create the tree and see. Derivation tree also you can create and see. You will understand how it is going. Now we are also using the data structure, and then that is the stack you are using and observing the output. Okay, so that way you can try out more examples for the same grammar also. Now let us see whether that was whatever we discussed in our previous example. How does it help for the grammars, or whether some particular grammar is suitable for LL of 1 or not? I will have to see. Okay, in that table, did you observe that for all the cells I had at most one entry? Means either I will have some rule there or I will not have anything. That is error. But I never saw something where I had a conflict that I have to apply rule number 0 also, I have to apply rule number 2 also, something like that I didn't get. Isn't it? For that particular example, I didn't get anything like that. Means suppose if you imagine say row corresponding to E, and then suppose I take some symbol say star or whatever. Okay, open parenthesis if you take, because we have filled that. For E on open parenthesis, I had only one choice. Only one rule I had a choice to apply. I never had more than one choice. Suppose I had more than one choice, means I can apply rule number 3 or I can apply rule number 4, something like that. If I have such situation, then it is not suitable for LL of 1 parsing. Okay, means there should not be any conflict in the table found. So for that I can define like this: a grammar is said to be LL of 1 if there exists at most one entry in the LL of 1 parsing table. That is in every cell. Okay, in each cell at most one entry should be there. If there are more than one entry in any cell, it means that there is a conflict that exists in one place. If it occurs also, it is not going to be correct. Means you may take that particular string only for parsing, and then it will be unsuccessful. Therefore, that kind of grammar is not suitable for LL of 1 parsing. Means whatever information we have got in the grammar and whatever we constructed, that is not sufficient to take a decision because the conflict occurs. Okay, so generally we say a grammar is suitable for LL of 1 parsing only if it does not have any conflict, or we can say at most one entry is present in any cell. In any one place, if it fails also, we say that it is not suitable because maybe the same string you will take and trace it out. So that is the definition for LL of 1 grammars. So what may be the wrong thing then? Maybe whatever number of lookout symbols we are using is not sufficient. This may be one reason. Okay, and the other reason may be our grammar, whatever we are using, it is still not well defined to handle LL of 1 parsing. That is why this problem is coming. So the conflict is coming. So whenever the conflict occurs, Manasa will take rule number 3, Priya will take rule number 4, Vishnu will take rule number 3 once again. Like this it can happen, right? So we can't do that. The compiler cannot do that, isn't it? So we will have to select a particular rule only at a particular point. We should not have conflicts over there while passing. Therefore, we should not have any conflict if it has to be used for a particular parsing technique. Okay, so that is the definition of LL of 1 grammars. So only this beginning I will start, and maybe we can continue in the next class because only I think some 5-6 minutes we can spend on this. This is the next example. Maybe I will start so that you can also try out and come back. Okay, so for this particular grammar, what we have to do is we will apply all our steps, like starting from step number 1, augmentation. Then you can label the production rules using some numbers, and then you can check whether left recursion removal is required or not, all that. Okay, so I think I have given similar example, but not exactly the same. So let us start with the first step, augmentation. So augmentation is done now, and also I'm going to I didn't label the rule numbers here. Why do you know? Because there are some changes required still. This is not a good grammar right now. So why? Because it contains left recursion here. Okay, it also contains left recursion here, which is not suitable. So only for the augmented grammar rule, I have labeled it as 0. That will not change anyways. Later we will see how to go about. So first let us start from the rule number 0, 1, and maybe this one S. Corresponding to S, there is no issue because there is no left recursion. We can continue further. But with the A as capital A as a non-terminal, we have left recursion, so it has to be removed first. So here it has been removed. So ASD, the other option is epsilon. So we will have to introduce the unit production here, and then we have to continue. So these are the rules. And then for B also, we don't have any left recursion. We can take it as it is. Then for C, we have left recursion. So we will have to remove that. So after removal, it looks like this. The grammar looks like this. So for D, we don't have anything, no problem. So we can continue. So now I have labeled. Of course, you will have to check with the left factoring also. Anyway, in this particular example, there is no left factoring required. So that's why I have labeled. Otherwise, you have to finish the left factoring also, and then maybe you can label the rules. So no left factoring required for this particular example. Okay. So now what is that? What is the next step? The next step is what? We have to compute the first and follow set, right? So we will have to compute this. I will start and maybe we can stop it. You people can try out and come because you know the steps now. You know how to compute first and follow also. You try and come. Anyway, I will give the solution in the next class. So I didn't fill it purposely because I wanted to work online. I wanted you to be very interactive in that class. So only I didn't fill. Now if I have to fill, okay, let us start. Whatever we can finish, we'll see. Please remind me when it is time. Okay. No, now anyway we have augmented. So G is the non-terminal. First we will list out all the symbols that are nullable because you should never forget epsilon. That is going to be very dangerous. So first handle that. That's why I introduced one column here. So whichever is nullable directly or indirectly, whatever you have to list out. So first is S is nullable directly. This is remember that this is all after removal of left recursion, whatever grammar we got, no, that one. So don't take the original grammar which is given. So now after the transformation, whatever you got, that you have to take now. So S is nullable, A dash is nullable. A is nullable indirectly because A gives A dash and then A dash gives epsilon. So it is also nullable. B is nullable directly. C dash is nullable, but C is not nullable. D is also nullable. Okay, so we have marked the nullability. Coming to the first set, maybe first of G, somebody can tell. One or two will finish and then stop. Okay. So first of G is what? Please see and tell.
A and
Repeat.
epsilon.
A and why did you say epsilon?
S is also there now. S gives
Okay,
epsilon.
so if S is epsilon, what I should do? Okay, this is a very good example. If S is epsilon, what I will do is I will replace epsilon here. Then what happens to first of G?
Dollar.
Yeah, so it is dollar. Is that clear, students? All of you, please listen. See, whenever S is in this particular example, especially S is only nullable. Because S is nullable, one possibility is first of G is first of S, and because of first of S, we are getting small a. But the other possibility is what? Epsilon. So whenever I take epsilon in the first position, what happens to my S? It is epsilon. Then first of my G will become dollar. This is one special case. Okay, now I can also fill the first of S, which is A and epsilon. A and epsilon. Then similarly, can you tell the next one? First of A. First of A is epsilon should be there definitely. For all this epsilon will come. First of A, can you please tell?
Yes.
First of A is?
Yes.
First of A is first of A dash. First of A dash is what? Okay, this is
Yes.
supposed to be the capital. Is it capital S? Yes, it is supposed to be the capital S. So first of S. First of S is what? Same thing, whatever I computed. You can take that. Small a. Okay, now if I place epsilon over here. Okay, first I'll fill for A dash and come back and fill for A. Okay, because it is depending on A dash, right? So small a, and then when S becomes null, what happens? First of A dash will have D, isn't it? Okay, that's all. So we'll fill that here. Fill that here. Okay, I'll stop here, students. You can try this, continue this. Anyway, I'm going to continue in the next class. Okay, students, any doubts you can ask me. Should I show that, or is it okay? This is screen. You're still working. 2 minutes are there. If at all you want to see that, yes, you can. You start working on it so that if you find any challenges while solving, maybe if you are getting stuck or something, maybe you can have a note of it, and maybe we can discuss in the next class. Okay, students, I don't think so you have any doubts. And thank you, students.
Thank you, ma'am.